Yantif. There was once a king who ruled his kingdom with wisdom and compassion. As he approached the end of his days, everyone in the kingdom wondered who would be the next ruler. Would it be one of the king's children, an advisor, a general? As the king lay on his deathbed, he announced whom he had chosen to be the next king. It was to be the court jester. The jester? Everyone in the kingdom thought this must be a joke. The king's advisors tried to talk him out of it, but the king was firm in his decision. Sometime later, when the king died, the jester was crowned the new king. No one knew, of course, how this would work out, but over time it turned out to have been a brilliant choice. The jester was every bit as wise, as compassionate, and as insightful as the old king was. Everyone in the kingdom came to love him. There was a mystery surrounding the new king, however. Every so often he would retreat to a distant room in the palace, a room to which only he had the key. For a few hours he would lock himself in that room, and then he would return to the throne and resume his duties. What was he doing in that room? Praying? Meditating? Thinking? No one knew. Once an ambassador came from a far-off land. The ambassador spent many hours with the king. He grew to appreciate the king's wisdom and his kindness. When the ambassador noticed that the king occasionally disappeared into his distant room, he too wondered, what does that king do in that locked room? So one day, when the king retreated to his room, the ambassador secretly followed behind. When the king closed the door, the ambassador crouched down and peered through the keyhole. There he took in the king's great secret. In the privacy of the room, the king took off his crown and his royal robes and put on the costume of a jester. Around and around the room, he danced the jester's dance, making funny faces and singing the silly songs of a jester. Then he stood before a great mirror and recited to himself, "Never forget who you are. You may look and sound and act like the king, but you are only the jester. You are only the jester pretending to be the king. Never forget who you are." Now the ambassador understood it all. He understood the source of the king's deep wisdom, kindness, and humility. He vowed his everlasting loyalty to the king, and he vowed to keep the king's secret. Over the years, the king and the ambassador grew even closer. One day when they were alone, the ambassador confessed what he had done and what he had seen. "I promise you on my life that I'll never reveal your secret," he declared. "But there's one thing I've never been able to figure out. Of all the people in the royal court whom the old king could have chosen to succeed him, why did the old king choose you? Why did he choose the jester?" The king smiled at his friend and replied, "And what do you think that king was before he became king?" So much of our lives is spent wearing the crown and royal robes. We put on our suits and ties, our makeup and dresses, and go off into the world wearing our public personas. But there are times when we too can retreat to locked rooms in order to be real. And how we cherish the family and close friends who accept us as both jester and king. Trusted sounding boards with whom we can speak honestly and freely. Cherished forgivers with whom we can be imperfect and admit our imperfections. Confidants with whom we can wrestle freely and emotionally with life's most difficult challenges. Like the king and his friend the ambassador, there are very few people on the earth to whom we can reveal our inner selves. But when we find such a person, whether family by birth or family by choice, we embrace such people with gratitude and love. We gather now at this Yizkor hour to remember those loved ones who saw beyond our crowns and our robes, those for whom we let down our guard, so that they could see the real us. We remember parents who helped to shape us. We remember siblings with whom we fought, but nevertheless who always had our backs. Some of us tragically remember children who helped us to discover the very essence of our own being. Many here recall spouses who not only saw through the costumes and masks with which we decorate our lives, but who loved us despite of and because of those disguises. At this Yizkor hour, we remember and give thanks for those who truly loved the real us. Though tacked on to the end of Sukkot, the holiday we celebrate today, Shmini Atzeret, is its own special, unique holiday. The book of Leviticus explains, when you have gathered in the fruits of the land, you shall keep the feast of the Lord, that is to say, the holiday of Sukkot, for 7 days. On the first day of Sukkot shall be a solemn rest, the Torah demands, adding, and on the 8th day shall be a solemn rest. That's it, though. The Torah simply says that Shmini Atzeret is that 8th day on which there shall be a separate, additional, solemn rest. The rabbis of the Talmudic era hardly clarify this holiday for us. They instruct us to say Shechianu in the evening, that is to say last night, indicating that today is separate from Sukkot. Yet we continue with Hallel, the Psalms of Praise, as we've done throughout the Sukkot holiday. And we continue to refer to Shmini Atzeret as Zman Simchatenu, the season of our joy, the same title we give to Sukkot. Moreover, today, Shmini Atzeret is often used colloquially as an expression to indicate somewhere insignificant or out of the way. Where is the rabbi's wife from? I heard someone say. Some small town up north. You know, Shmini Atzeret, Michigan. As if people didn't know where her hometown of Pickford actually is. After all, 500 people live there, and there is a blinking yellow traffic light. Yet despite the confusion, Shmini Atzeret is a major holiday on the Jewish calendar, known in modern times for 2 reasons. First, it is a day in which we pray for significant but not overwhelming rainfall in the land of Israel. And second, it is one of 4 appointed times on the calendar to recite the Yizkor prayers. There is yet one more way in which Shmini Atzeret differs from Sukkot. In the days of the ancient Holy Temple in Jerusalem, special services were offered on Sukkot to pray for the welfare of all the nations of the earth. Sukkot is considered a universal holiday, and in the Messianic era, all the nations of the world will come to Jerusalem on Sukkot to recognize God's oneness. Sukkot is a holiday for Jews and Gentiles alike. Yet on the 8th day, on Shmini Atzeret, there were no special services to pray for the welfare of all the nations of the earth. Rather, God established one extra day, an 8th day, the rabbis teach, on which God says to the people Israel, "Stay with me one more day, so that we may rejoice together, just you and me." Shmini Atzeret is a special day added on to Sukkot, reserved just for God and the Jewish people. To what then might Sukkot and Shmini Atzeret be compared? At a wedding ceremony, the bride and groom enter together the chuppah, the wedding canopy. The chuppah is open on all 4 sides, demonstrating a couple's willingness to welcome friends and family into their home. But then the bride circles the groom 7 times, creating a sacred space that belongs only to husband and wife. Even though we must welcome guests into our homes, there's something special about the relationship of a married couple. The Sukkot holiday is like the chuppah. God and the Jewish people desire everyone to feel welcome in their sacred home. Shmini Atzeret is like the circling. Even though all are welcome, there is still a sacred, intimate bond that exists only between God and the Jewish people. There is something special about that relationship that exists only among those with whom we love. The shared memories, the inside jokes, and perhaps more than anything, the trust that exists so that we can, well, let down our hair, and be the real us. When we lose a member of our family, those born to us and those whom we choose, we lose a piece of us. In addition to robbing us of future laughter and love, death robs us of parents, children, siblings, spouses, and friends who love us for whom we truly are. The ambassador loved the king even more because the ambassador knew at his core the king was still the beloved jester. When the suits and ties, the makeups and dresses have come off, when we return to the privacy of our homes and release our public personas, each of us yearns to be known and to be loved for who we truly are. At this Yizkor hour, let us give thanks for those in our lives who loved our inner jesters, and let us remember, too, how much we loved theirs. Let us say together, Amen.